Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me out. How many of you are familiar with Blessings of Hope or have volunteered there or know what the ministry is about? So there's a handful of you. Well, good. I always enjoy sharing what we do and just showcasing what God did the last couple of years because there's so many things that happen that are way beyond our imagination. Uh, 2006. Actually, I'll get to that. Uh, this is my wife, Fanny, and I, and our family. We have 12 children. The oldest is 20, and the youngest are twin boys that are 2.5 years old. And we are a very blessed family. We live in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and we're at that stage of life where the children are still all at home, and we have a lot of fun together. Our oldest daughter, who's 18, is actually traveling to Thailand as we speak. She's probably on the airplane flying over the ocean somewhere or headed that direction. And Aaron's oldest daughter is on that trip too. So some of our youth group are going to Thailand for a 3-week mission trip. So they're pretty excited about that. So there's a picture of the twins. They are at the point where they're getting into everything, and but they're a lot of fun. Grew up in New Holland, Pennsylvania. Attended a one-room schoolhouse north of New Holland, Linden Grove Road, if anybody knows the area. First to 8th grades in one classroom. I was one of 8 boys and 2 girls, and Dad had the vision of giving all of his boys the opportunity to farm. So farmland in Lancaster County is a little hard to come by, so he decided Wayne County, Indiana would be a good place to move to. In 1995, when I was 13 years old, we moved to Indiana, and some of the neighboring farms had come up for sale, so Dad would buy them for some of the other boys that never ended up moving out there then. But at one point, we were farming over 400 acres with horses. Grew up old order Amish, horse and buggy. In 2005, we had been on a journey with God for a few years, and 2005, we were excommunicated from the Amish church. We no longer fit the religious traditional system, and we at that point we had 30-year plans on the farm. We were going to live and die, and nobody was even going to know we'd live because we were just going to do our own thing. But when God gets a hold of your life and has bigger plans for you, and you say yes to Him, it's amazing what can happen. So in 2006, we had moved back to Pennsylvania, and there's 5 couples of us: Aaron Fisher and his wife Barbie, my wife Fanny, and I, 2 of my oldest brothers and their wives, and our sister and her husband started Light of Hope Ministries as a church and a counseling ministry. We had come out of the Amish, and we had been on a journey together. And through that, we had a need for food for our own families because we were new to the nonprofit world. We didn't know much about it, but through that, Aaron started helping an outreach in Harrisburg, giving away food, and he would bring some extra food along home for our families. And before long, he was bringing more food along home than we could use, so we'd start giving out to some other people. Overflowed into this 3-car garage in 2006, somewhere in that time frame. We had a cooler that we could get 2 pallets of product in if we hand stacked everything, and we had a freezer that we could get about a pallet and a half in if we hand stacked everything. And that's where we started. We had a car that when Aaron would come home, he would be using like half of the seat because there was a wall of food here and the car was packed full of food. And that progressed to a 15-passenger van and a trailer. I think 2008 we got our first box truck. In 2010, we had committed to packing 7 boxes a week for a local pastor. At that point, we had moved into a 1,500 square foot room in a warehouse. It was the first warehouse that we had moved into. And we made a commitment that we're going to give away food till we run out of food. And if you're getting a few pallets a week and you're committing to 7 boxes a week, that turned into 10, that turned into 20 pretty quickly. It takes some miracle just to come up with a variety that you can even pack a nice box of food. And that commitment of giving away food till we ran out of food was challenged in 2020 during COVID, when I remember one Saturday evening walking through the warehouse, and there was 14 pallets of food in the warehouse. And we had volunteers scheduled for Monday morning to pack 2,000 boxes of food. And over the weekend, Aaron had made some connections with some of the customers from the Philadelphia produce market, and they told him, come down Monday morning, we'll make some introductions to the people down there and see if they have any food they want to donate. By 8 o'clock Monday morning, we had 2 semi-truckloads of food on our dock ready to pack the boxes. So just seeing God come through in so many different ways over the years has just been incredible. So why do we do what we do? Our primary focus is to empower the church to be the hands and feet of Jesus. There's so many restrictions. So let me back up a little bit. So what we saw early on is there's a need for an organization that can take semi-truckloads of volume, because these large corporations have all this food available to donate, but they don't want to deal with 50 organizations every day. It's cheaper to just send it to the landfill and get rid of it. Then you have your nonprofits that want 10 boxes of that semi-truckload volume, but they can't take a semi-load of fresh produce every day. And we had that disconnect, and what we saw is that the need to bridge that gap and to be able to utilize, or be able to serve the donor at the volume they want to be served, and be able to serve the nonprofit at the volume they want to be served. And we realized pretty quickly that we need to be able to compete with the landfill. To compete with the landfill, you have to take volume, hassle-free, fast. If you can do volume, hassle-free, fast, there's almost an unlimited amount of free food out there. But you have to get it off the donor's dock when they want to get rid of it, at the volume they want to get rid of it, and the next time they have product, guess who they're going to call? Because you make it easy for them. And that's what we've built our ministry on the last number of years, is serving the donor at the volume they want to be served, and then serving the nonprofit at the volume they want to be served. And then we have the capacity in between to take the 10 semi-truckload volume when it's available and distribute that over the next 6-8 months, when the nonprofits want to use it. The government-run food bank, there's so many restrictions around sharing the gospel when you're giving out food, to the point where if you want to serve food that you got from the government-run food bank, you have to go out in the hallway to pray before you're not allowed to pray and serve the food in the same room. You have to have signs posted that state if you were solicited for prayer, and then a number that people could call. And what we're seeing, or what we were seeing early on, is if we can empower the church to be the hands and feet of Jesus, to share the gospel when they're giving out food, to be there for people in their time of need, rather than just be the next handout that they become dependent on, then we can make a difference in society. Another reason we do what we do is to steward the excess resources that are currently being wasted and utilize them for kingdom impact. I'm going to be sharing some statistics here in a bit, but there's so much food waste that happens on a daily basis. According to our research, America wastes a semi-truckload of food about every 13 seconds. There is no food shortage. What we see is there's a management shortage. There's a shortage of organizations that are able to take the capacity, take the volume. And that's what we're working on. As we develop Blessings of Hope, as we keep growing, that's our focus, is to bridge that gap. To be a channel where people can serve people that are down in life and just need a hand up, and to provide opportunities for the community to come together to serve each other and to serve people in need. So that's the heart behind why we do what we do. We've had so many opportunities to just be the next humanitarian aid organization, take all kinds of government funding, and completely shut down the mission of sharing the gospel. And we have decided early on that if we can't empower organizations to share the gospel, then we have better things to do. We don't need another food bank that just distributes food with all kinds of restrictions. Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden." As the body of Christ, what we believe we're called to do is to be that light in the city where if somebody has a need, they turn to the church for their support, not to the local bar or not to alcohol or whatever else, that they can drown their sorrows out in. But if the church can be involved in the community to where we're serving the needs of the people of the community, that they turn to the church in their time of need, be that light on a hill that people turn to, then we can speak into them in their time of need, into their life. So facts about food insecurity in the U.S., 12.8% or 17 million households are affected by food insecurity. Food insecurity is a term known as people that have access to less than 1,800 calories a day. So this can go all the way down to nothing, but 1,800 calories is what the benchmark is what's considered food insecure. 44.2 million people have lived in food insecure homes in 2022. And just to break that down for you, this equates to the population of Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York. That's the size of the issue that we're addressing on the food insecure side of things. Now, Blessings of Hope, we do not serve the people in need directly. We serve the organizations that are serving the people in need. We're a distribution center for nonprofits that then serve the community. So on the food waste side of things, 40 million, in the United States, an estimated 40 million tons of food is wasted annually. That's the flip side of the coin that we're addressing. I've seen statistics that said as low as 35% up to 50% of global food waste would end world hunger. So if we go with even half of the global food waste would end world hunger is an issue that can easily be solved if we utilize the resources that we have and get it to the people that need it. We can still waste half of what we do. We just need the other half to end world hunger of the food waste. So last year, Blessing of Hope distributed 28.5 million pounds of food, which equates to about 3.5 10,000% of what's available. So the more we're digging into some of these statistics, the more that we're seeing that we have barely scraped the tip of the iceberg of what's out there. There's so much food out there that is currently being wasted. A lot of the product we get is in date, but it's getting close to expiration date. And it hits that point where retail stores are no longer buying it, and the distribution centers are looking for a place to get rid of it. And the interesting thing about expiration dates, does anybody know who determines expiration dates? Most people think it's the government, but it's not. It's the company. It's the expiration date simply means that the manufacturer guarantees 100% freshness up to that date. The only products that we're not allowed to distribute after expiration date are milk and baby food. Everything else is just a number or a date that somebody put on the product. And then you have your sell by, use by, best by, freeze by, whatever else all by, and nobody knows what they mean. I've heard already that expiration dates were an idea by a marketing team to keep product moving and to educate people to throw it away when it hits that date. I'd say they did a pretty good job of that. So an estimated 30 to 40% of all food produced in America is wasted. That's right on the USDA website. When I saw that number, there was something inside of me that just like, this is wrong. Like we have to do better than this. And some of this food waste happens at the farmer level, some of it happens at the grocery store distribution center level, and then some happens at the restaurant household level. But our focus is the distribution center where semi-truckloads of product are sitting on pallets in a warehouse. It's already picked, it's already processed. They just got to go somewhere with it. That's where a lot of our food comes from, is distribution centers, semi-truckload volumes. And they need to go somewhere with it. One of our major food donors that we get from every day, I was at a meeting where their efficiency manager was sharing, and he said in 10 years they've saved $3.5 million by recycling their food. Further on in his presentation, he said 87% of their recycle program was to a local food bank. And what I heard that he didn't say is that we can save them $300,000 a year in disposal fees by taking their food that's getting close to expiration date. On top of that, we can give them a tax deductible receipt for the fair market value of that product because they're donating it. Then we can utilize that and impact people's lives for God's kingdom and actually make a difference in their lives. And you do that over and over again, it's a win-win for everybody. So if the food waste was loaded on semi-trucks, we waste a semi-truck load of food every 13 seconds, or 6,523 truckloads a day on average, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And there's so much food waste that happens, it's almost mind-boggling. If this food was stacked on pallets, we'd have enough of pallets to go coast to coast 17 times. So that's just the size of the issue that we're dealing with on the flip side of the coin. So we have the population of 5 states that are food insecure, and then you have enough of food to go coast to coast 17 times if it's 1,200 pounds on a pallet. And bringing those two together is what we're focusing on, is how do we bridge that gap? How do we utilize more of this product that is already being produced, that is currently being wasted, and get it to the people that need it? And in that process, share the gospel, share hope with people, help them overcome their challenges in life. So at Blessing of Hope, we acquire, transform, and distribute large amounts of food. Basically what that means is, we'll bring it into our warehouse, store it, process it, whatever we need to do to take the volume when it's available. Right now, with the volume of food that we turn away on a daily basis, it's almost mind-blowing the volume of food that we get offered that we can't receive because of what's available. And I see that just continuing to grow as we open up more space. There's always has been to date just more volume that we can connect to and utilize. So we receive food from over 200 different donors. Most of these are in the distribution area that we serve, which is about a 200-mile radius from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which would cover like Connecticut to DC, East Coast to Pittsburgh. And we like to, if we can, do a delivery, then do a pickup in that area on the way back and utilize our trucks better that way. Bring that into our warehouse, store it, and then it gets sorted, packed. If some of this gets packed into boxes, some of this gets taken to our food selection centers, and there's always somewhere to go with it. Some of it goes to outreaches. Last year we had over 170,000 volunteer hours with over 20,000 individual people serving over 60,000 volunteer shifts. And it's been absolutely mind-blowing, the support of the community the last number of years. Since 2020, we have over 40,000 registered volunteers that have volunteered at one of our Lancaster facilities. And the volunteers are from 47 states plus Canada, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. That they were in the area visiting friends or something, and through that, made a connection to volunteer at Blessing of Hope. But it's just been amazing to see the community come together and support what God's doing here at Blessing of Hope. So 2 years ago in July, we opened up our first food selection center in Lancaster. So before that, we had a portion of our warehouse there on Becker Road that was set up as a food selection center. This is where the organizations come in to select food. The way our program works is we have a 29,000 square foot facility here. It's open to any nonprofit organization. They can come in as often or as little as they want. We're open 6 days a week. They can take any volume of anything they see on display. The product is free, but they pay a 31 cents a pound handling fee. And then that handling fee covers our costs to get the product to them. And then our volunteers, after a shift, they get a voucher that's good for one trip to our selection center that they can use to get food for their own needs, or if they want to reach out to somebody. And then the volunteers will pay 60 cents a pound. And it's just been amazing. Oops, looks like I need to plug in my computer. You got it? So it's just been amazing to see the impact that selection centers had. Since we opened in 2022, we have averaged over 10 new organizations a week that have signed up to get food from us. And we're at a point now where we're not really pushing for new organizations to sign up because we're maxed out on what we can do there. And you're just being just the volume of food that goes through there, having to take that in and out every day while there's people in there shopping, it actually almost becomes a safety hazard sometimes, because there's times they'll come out through with a pallet of product, and by the time they get to their location where they want to place it, half of it's gone because there's people pulling boxes off of this. But yeah, this facility is dedicated for nonprofits and then our volunteers to select food. We also allow our volunteers, like if they don't need the voucher for their own use, can you click on the screen there and just click anywhere? Yeah, there we go. Now I should have it back. So if they don't need the voucher for their own use, they can give it to somebody in need, and then that person can redeem the voucher on their behalf. And that's a way that people that don't need the food support, they can reach out to their neighbors or somebody that can then utilize our selection center through that. So 2024 year to date, we have over 1,500 organizations that we've served with food, and a lot of these, they'll drive 2 or 3 hours just to come and get food. Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York City, even beyond, that'll drive to Lancaster to get food. And what we're seeing is the opportunity to expand this model to other areas is huge. There's a lot of opportunity to actually, we believe, to actually take it to a national organization with time. In 2020, we opened up a food selection center in Kentucky just to test the model. If we go into a new area, we had some friends in the area that wanted to do a selection center, and so we went into a new area. I think we had 5 organizations the first week that we served. Right now we have about 250 organizations in the Tennessee, Kentucky region that we're serving with food. And what we're seeing is taking the model into a new area without any prior exposure very quickly gains traction, and so the model works. And what we're seeing is there's really no reason that it wouldn't grow into a national organization. 2021, we leased a 23,000 square foot facility in East Petersburg. This was mainly used for food storage up until last year, when we got into food dehydration, where we can take fresh produce, dry it to give it a shelf-stable life. I have some samples back on the table of our soup blends, and it's just some of the different products that we've dried. But dehydrated product retains over 90% nutritional value, shrinks to less than 20% of volume, and you can give fresh produce that is ripe, that is a waste product because it's ripe, a 5+ year shelf life. And that can then be shipped anywhere in the world, where we can, one of those little packets of soup back there will feed 8 to 10 people as a U.S. meal. Internationally, they'll easily feed 25 to 30 people with one packet of food. Because when you add water back into that, it expands. And there's also a nutritional powder that we added to that to help balance out the ration, where there's fresh vegetables and then a vitamin mineral powder that goes into that. Yeah. So here's some of the soup blend, putting it together, and then that gets packed in buckets. When that arrives in a third world nation, they'll be able to use that bucket to carry water or other things like that, where they're not just throwing away a cardboard box. So right now, the dehydrator that we have, we can put 8 carts in at a time, and you just push it in, dry it down, and then you have your product that you can utilize. This was our first shipment into Haiti last year. 2 pallets, we were able to fly it in. The interesting thing about this is each pallet had over 19,000 meals, and the 2 pallets we figured had almost the same feeding value of a full semi-truckload of fresh produce, because of the way it shrunk together. And the pilot was able to fly it into a grass strip and actually bypass the corruption at the ports and get it to the people. So that was pretty cool. But because of the density of nutrition, it made sense to fly it in. and the pilot actually donated the time to fly it in. So we're very blessed with that. This pastor here on the right, he got 2 buckets of it, and he is planning on rationing that for a year. For I think he has 500 students that he feeds at his school, and he's just going to add some to their rice and bean mixture, every once a week or whatever, to give them a little extra nutrition. So there's so many opportunities to grow this program, which is why we bought the former Darren camps up here in Elizabethtown, which some of you are aware of. So we bought this. It's been a while ago, and we thought we had a plan to get everything up and running pretty quickly. That plan did not hold out the way the economy changed the last couple of years, and we do have another plan that we feel very good about now. So hopefully it'll move forward before too long. I'll be sharing about that here in a little bit. But half of the building we want to put in another food selection center like we have in Lancaster, try to take some of the pressure off of Lancaster. And the other half, we wanted to put in food processing for food dehydration. Okay, come on, this thing's jumping the slide. So the food processing, the dehydrator that we want to put in will probably be a belt dehydrator, where it'll be a continuous feed. The one that we're looking at, we could put 2 tons an hour of wet product into the dehydrator, and it would continuous feed, flowing out the other side dry. So pretty excited about that whole opportunity. We believe we'll be able to, with that dehydrator, produce multiple container loads per month that we can ship internationally. The dehydrated product is all for international outreach. We can serve fresh produce locally, so everything dehydrated will be for international support. Last year, we moved our corporate offices into Greenfield. Basically, what we did is we put all our support staff from the different locations to free up offices on site for people that need it, and bring the support team into Greenfield to work together. Okay, this thing keeps jumping on me. I'm not sure why. Okay. There we go. Our food box gift certificates is a program. This is the first program that is open to allow individuals to come in and select food. So the way this program works is anybody can sponsor a packet of vouchers, but they have to agree to give them out to people in need. Like, they can't come in and get a packet of vouchers and use them for their own use. So it's a $250 donation. You can get a packet of vouchers. There's 10 vouchers that are good for 10 boxes of food. So what we're seeing is there's one level of outreach. If you're packing thousands of boxes of food on an assembly line and every box gets the same thing, it's another level of outreach. If you give somebody a voucher, they come into our selection center. Anything they see on display that they can get into that box is what they get for that voucher. So it's basically the donor or the sponsor is sponsoring the voucher at $25 a box, and then the individual in need can come in. The only stipulation is when they're done, they have to be able to close the lid. So whatever they can cram into that box is what they get for that voucher. And some people get pretty creative. Food outreaches is another big thing that we do, where we send truckloads of food into inner city missions just to do a big outreach on the streets. And just hearing from our truck drivers, it's always amazing to hear their stories. It doesn't matter what the weather is, if it's 90 degrees and sunny, if it's 0 degrees and snowing, if it's raining, they put in an outreach. There's always people in line, sometimes for 2 or 3 blocks around the city, and just waiting in line to get food. And just hearing some of their stories is very, very touching. But food outreaches we use mainly to control our inventory, to keep product moving. For example, a few weeks ago, we got 42 pallets of blueberries. And if you go to Giant and you buy a little box of blueberries, you're going to pay what, $4 or $6 a box. We had 42 pallets of them. The issue is they were ripe. We had to move them. So every outreach got blueberries. It's the product that we send to these outreaches is still a good product, but it's product that has to move, or it won't be good in a couple of days or in a week or whatever. And it's what we use to control inventory. So what we're seeing as we keep growing is adding more of our food selection centers, because our food selection centers pay for themselves. We don't have to do any fundraising for those. The only thing we fundraise for is food that we send to outreaches to cover the cost of getting the food to the outreaches. because a lot of these inner city churches are a small church where there's maybe 30 members in their church, and they do an outreach and 1,000 people show up. And a lot of that, they might pay $700 or $1,000 for a truckload of food, and our cost to distribute that food is $5,000 or $6,000. So the donations subsidize the outreaches, and it's a part of the mission of serving the community rather than wasting it. So it's always better to send it to an outreach than throw it away. But outreaches, then we have to fundraise for. So that's the side of the ministry that all donations go to. So at this point, overall operations are 75% funded through the handling fees and 25% through donations. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, we are currently, so 2018, we had a $600,000 operating budget. 2024, we're at a $10 million operating budget. So we've had some pretty crazy growth the last couple of years. And the cool thing is we just came through our fiscal year at the end of September, and we were actually in the black for the year. So that was very awesome. And it's just been amazing to see the support of the community come together behind what we're doing. And even from our partner ministries to the donors, to the volunteers, to the food donors, everybody working together, we can solve a greater problem. These are some of the cities that we've served last year, mainly Northeast U.S., and then out of our Kentucky location, there's a bunch down in that area. The one in Colorado, there's a New Horizons out of Colorado. Some of you might know them. They serve orphan children. Prison babies. If moms have babies in prison, they take care of the babies while the mom's in prison. There's a local trucking company that goes out west quite a bit, and whenever they have room on their truck, they'll put a couple pallets on the back and take it along out for the ministry. So that's it's pretty cool just to see the reach, as we keep growing, as we keep serving more communities, to see the reach of the organization. So in 2006, we started with Light of Hope Ministries. This is more the way we're structured. In 2010, we started Blessings of Hope as a DBA of Light of Hope Ministries. And then in 2019, we set Blessings of Hope as an integrated auxiliary of Light of Hope, which an integrated auxiliary basically means that it operates under its own board, under its own nonprofit status, under its own EIN, but it's still tied into the church. As we were looking at, what does growth look like? Because we believe we're called to be a national organization and to be able to take our model to other areas. And with the way our selection centers are paying for themselves, there's no reason financially that it wouldn't make sense to. If we look at the volume of food waste, there's no reason that the food waste issue or the food insecurity issue wouldn't support a national organization. And what we're seeing is we believe that we actually have an opportunity to take welfare private by empowering the church to take care of the community to the point where the government doesn't need to. If the government tries to do welfare, the best they can do is put people into a class, and if you're in a certain income bracket, you have a certain need. Well, last I checked, that's not quite the way that works. Just because you're in a certain income bracket doesn't say you have the same need as your neighbor does. So what our vision is to empower the church to get to know the needs of the community, use food as a door opener to get to know the people, and then minister to their needs, be that spiritual, emotional, physical, and help people get back on their feet more on a personal level, and actually get the church to take care of the community to the point where the government doesn't need to. I saw this graph a little bit ago, but it says 1.5 million nonprofits seek funding from this small source of capital. So this would be the donations. And then the rest of that is other investable assets that are in the U.S. So what we've done this year is we set up Hope RE funding to raise the capital for our expansion projects, for our real estate projects. Because what we were seeing is, as we grow out the organization, we can look at just leasing buildings across the nation, because our model supports the traditional lease. But then we're dealing with landlords, we're dealing with rent increases, you're dealing with all the unknowns that go with that. The other thing was, do we just go out and find banks to finance our projects? Do we try to find donors for everything? How's all this work? And earlier this year, I was just thinking through this whole thing. What could a syndication look like for a nonprofit? Syndication is basically where a larger group of people come together to do something bigger. And so I connected with Eric Wenger over at RKL and ran the idea by him. And what we came up with, working with RKL and Barley Snyder this year, is Hope RE Funding will raise the capital, and then Hope RE Holdings will own the real estate and lease it to Blessings of Hope. And in that process, we invite the community to invest in the Hope RE Funding, where it's a privately funded organization, get away from all traditional bank financing. Property will be tied into a mortgage to Hope RE Funding, and then we lease that to Blessings of Hope, and then we pay the investors back over the next number of years. We're offering up to 6% interest. This is a 506C offering. For those of you not familiar with that, it's a SEC regulation that it's not an option for somebody just to take out a loan and loan the money to us, or take it out of their, they have to have significant net worth in order to even be able to invest with us. And the idea is to give the community, the people in the community that have significant success, that want to make a difference in people's lives, give them an opportunity to invest into our real estate needs and be a part of what God is doing at Blessings of Hope. We're offering up to 6% interest on a 3-year note, $250,000 minimum. If the $250,000 minimum is a stumbling or a deal breaker, we do consider on a case-by-case basis less than that, at least initially. But a lot of people, our target audience for this is also like donor advised funds or private like foundations. A lot of people are not aware of this, but you can actually invest your donor advised fund capital into an impact investment through the Impact Foundation, and put that money to work until you decide where to donate it to. And it's just been amazing how much I learned the last year around the whole SEC regulations, what's possible, how this stuff all works. But Hope RE Funding is a nonprofit organization. It'll be a sister entity to Blessings of Hope. So we can offer equity, but we can offer, it's just a straight debt fund. We can also do donations of any amount, but the investments were at a $250,000 minimum. And there's also pledge forms in the back if anybody wants to do a pledge over like a 5-year pledge. These books are back there on the table if anybody wants to grab one. And if you have more questions about that, happy to answer any questions around that. I can even give you, my cell number. We can meet privately afterwards, sometime discuss it. But that is an opportunity that we have. And what we're seeing is if we can invite the community to help invest in the real estate side of things, to where Blessings of Hope can focus on the program and serving people, then working together we can have a greater impact. Matthew 25:40 says, "And the king will answer and said to them, Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me." And I believe that's all of our hearts, is when we stand before God and God asks us, "What did you do with what I entrusted to you?" And our answer can be, that we gave it everything that we had for His kingdom. That we can actually serve people while we're here on earth and make a difference for eternity in people's lives. Any questions at this time? Yes.
What kind of volunteer opportunities do you have?
Volunteer opportunities, currently we are 15 shifts a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is 3 shifts a day. Tuesday we have 2 shifts, and we have 1 shift Saturdays. So it's usually a morning, an afternoon, and evening shift at either Leola where we're sorting food, packing boxes, that kind of stuff. At East Petersburg, where they're processing food for the dehydrator or packing, repackaging. For example, we get Gaylord bins full of noodles or pasta, and then they'll take that and put it into like a family-sized bag, stuff like that. Or at our food selection center in Lancaster, where you'd be stocking shelves, cleaning up whatever needs to be done at Lancaster. And then there's also opportunities for skilled volunteers, for example, helping on the maintenance team, truck drivers, washing trucks, basically anything that we do, or almost anything that we do, can be done by volunteers. If somebody has an expertise in a certain area, make sure you let our team know that you would like to do a certain thing. For example, a couple of years ago, we had a crew there, a concreting crew, and they were packing Brussels sprouts. And early on, one of them just made the comment, "You don't need any concrete work done, do you? We'd rather be pouring concrete than packing Brussels sprouts." And we're like, "A matter of fact, we need a wall put in at a certain place." And they're like, "Well, they'll take care of it." So they went and got their equipment and built a wall for us instead of sorting Brussels sprouts, which was a lot more valuable to the organization, getting that concrete wall put in. But if they wouldn't have mentioned something about, pouring concrete, well, they would have just been packing Brussels sprouts, and we'd have never known they had these skills. So, if you as volunteers have a certain skill, make sure you let us know that we can utilize those skills. Like I said, currently we see about 1,300 volunteer positions a week filled. From the employees side, we have about 110 to 115 employees that are paid. Roughly half of our labor is done by volunteers, the other half by paid staff. Anybody else?
My daughter volunteers there sometimes, and my question is, sometimes people like in the Lancaster area too, things like that.
Like in the Lancaster City area? So everything we do is through churches or through other organizations. So there's quite a few Lancaster organizations that we serve. We also have an outreach in Akron every week where anybody locally that contacts us, we can refer them to. We do have ministries listed on our website that they let us know we're doing an outreach, say on the fourth Saturday of every month. If people are in that area, they can find them on our website. There's different ways that we reach out or let people know where to find, like if somebody needs food directly. But we're not focused on serving the individuals, we're focused on serving the organizations. Any other questions? Thank you for inviting me back. I'll turn it over to Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.